If you've ever felt stuck as a gym owner, it's probably because you don't have the right guidance. Today, I'm going to break down the differences between mentorship and business coaching and the types of models available so that you can grow your gym faster and smarter with fewer mistakes and less wasted time. I'm Chris Cooper. This is Run a Profitable Gym. And if you want to talk about mentorship, just go to gymownersunited.com. That's our free group run by my company, Two Brain Business, set up to help gym owners for free until they're ready to help get a mentor and make progress faster. There's over 10,000 gym owners in that free group, gymownersunited.com. You can go there right now and join up while you're listening to this podcast. Now, I want to talk today about mentorship and coaching. The two terms are sometimes used interchangeably, but business coaching is different from mentorship. Mentorship and coaching are really essential for entrepreneurs looking to save time and avoid expensive mistakes. If you read the biography of any entrepreneur that you really admire, you'll find that they have both paid and free mentors in their life. And sometimes we say coaching, sometimes we say mentorship, but they're not the same. And so knowing the difference can mean the difference between quick wins and long-term success. So first, let's just take a moment and define the difference between mentorship and coaching. Mentorship is done by people who have been where you are right now. It's a long-term relationship focused on strategic guidance over time, looking at the future and saying, here's how we get there. It's usually niche specific, meaning that fitness business mentors understand gym ownership. And it's different from coaching. Coaching is usually a short-term relationship that addresses specific obstacles, like, hey, I need help fixing my ads funnel. It's usually tactical with knowledge-specific expertise. You don't hire a referral marketing specialist to work on your ads usually. It usually focuses on removing immediate roadblocks like hiring and Instagram ads and sometimes even mindset. So just briefly here as a summary, coaches are tactical, they're specialists. Mentors are strategic, and they take a long-term vision, and they can usually connect you with the specialist that you need right then. So I'll give you two examples. I always am working with a mentor, and I'm usually working with a mentor for 2 to 3 years at a time. This is one-on-one. They know what my goals are for my company, and they'll work to help me build a roadmap and then break that roadmap down into specific steps. Chris, do this right now. Chris, you need to hire for this role. Here's your deadline. Here's the tools that you need to hire for this role. Let's work backward to do it. A coach is usually brought in on a short-term assignment to fix a specific problem. So for example, I have a speaking coach that I speak to. Her name's Janice, and I start talking to her in April every year. And I give her my summit speech. She goes through it. We tweak it up to make it better and more impactful. And then I record myself giving that speech probably a dozen times between April and June. She gives me feedback each time and coaches me to get better. Now, a coach are really, really, really specific in their knowledge base. You can hire a coach at your gym to coach, your method if you want to. That's not the same as hiring a mentor. A mentor can connect you with the specialists, the coaches, the tools, the resources, as we do in Two Brain. But a mentor usually takes a longer term view and says, here's where you want to go and here's the steps to get there. And they can do that. And they can do it most powerfully because they've been there themselves. And so they can kind of guide you along the journey. Okay. So, I have different coaches at different times. They usually come in, spend 2 to 3 months working with me on a specific thing. And I have mentors who work with me longer term to get the company to where I want to get it to. Two Brain Business is a mentorship practice. There are 4 different models that you're going to encounter in the fitness business that I see right now. So these are one-on-one mentorship, one to a few mentorship, one to a big group coaching, and roundtables. Let's go through each one here just to give you the pros and cons. Let's start with one-on-one mentorship. A one-on-one mentor saved my gym, and one-on-one mentorship has the best results of any type of coaching or mentorship that I've ever seen. It's really hard to measure and compare, but the reality here is that like most business coaches who operate in a big group don't measure results, and they do that on purpose because they don't want to be accountable for your success. Mentors measure your results and are therefore accepting the challenge of making you more successful. Now, they can't do it for you, but let's talk about how it actually works. So in Two Brain, when you sign up, you are paired based on your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, with a mentor that you're going to work with one-on-one. And they are going to first work with you through some basic things like how to set up your day to get work done. And then they're going to give you specific things to do, build an on-ramp, learn to sell it, build a pricing binder, etc. And at first, these wins come very, very quickly. It doesn't take a lot of time to do these things. And the mentor will do it right with you on the call just to make sure that you get it done. What they're really doing here is helping you get some quick wins, make a quick return on your investment, but also they are teaching you to focus. They're teaching you to make progress, and they're teaching you to get things done that will actually grow your business. So the pros of one-on-one mentorship are that it's personalized. You don't have to sit on a call waiting for a topic to come up that's interesting to you. You're going to talk just about your business. It's a long-term focus. It solves your individual problems quickly, and it's ideal for planning and strategy. The cons of a one-on-one mentor are that you really have to have a good client mentor match. If you're matched with a mentor that's not a good match for you, they're not going to get their best from you. Some people want to be told, hey, Chris, let's go do this right now. Get it done by Friday. Some people don't. Some people want to hear the why, and you need to know that coming into mentorship. With 56 mentors on our team, we're pretty darn good at matching people up. And we've also done this 2,500 times. We're good at knowing when a mentor match is good, but you can always switch too. There's also a risk over time when you're working with a mentor one-on-one that relationship will become too friendly. And this, for me, is the first red flag. There's a fine line to walk here between accountability and empathy. And so you want a mentor who is empathetic. They've been where you are, they've gone to where you want to go, and they can help you get there. But you don't want one that's too sympathetic, like, oh, I understand why you didn't do your work this month. You have to really get somebody that can walk that line. And over time, if you're with one mentor for too long, that relationship can become too friendly. It's cool to get a Christmas card from your mentor. It's not really cool to get like a new sweater. That's friendery, not mentoring. And this is why also, we really think that you should have a mentor that you pay. Because when you just have kind of a mentor who's a good friend, maybe he's your uncle or your aunt, and they show up at your house and they give you some advice, you're not, likely to take that seriously. You really need somebody who is objective, who is paid, and they are invested in you as you are invested in them. Okay. So we start with one-on-one mentorship with everybody to create replicable systems. Like last year, we had 288 owners get to earning $100,000 per year from their gym for the first time. That's what you get when you got that really good mentor match one-on-one. Now let's talk about one to few mentorship. So this is when the business coach or the mentor is working with a small group of 3 to, let's say, 8 people at a time. These are usually called masterminds because the people in the room are pre-filtered for success. You might also hear these called boards in some organizations. There's a lot of pros here. Number one, there's peer support. I mean, let's face it, the bigger your company gets, the more lonely you're going to feel. You can't really brainstorm with your staff at a certain level because they start thinking like we're doing this, or they start getting frustrated. You can't really turn to your staff for support like, golly gee, this is so hard. You shouldn't be posting that stuff on Facebook, but you need somebody. And so the one to few, the masterminds, the boards, that's really where you can get this kind of support. You also get some varied experiences in networking. So for example, years ago, when I was thinking about how can I help Two Brain gyms promote themselves and spread their message for them, I was working in a mastermind with a gentleman who had a business coaching practice for lawn care companies. And he said, oh yeah, we have this video contest. We give a $10,000 grand prize and everybody submits their video, and then they use those videos and we use the videos, and everybody gets benefit out of this. And that's kind of something that we've done up till this day. Is we've had video contests, we've had prizes, etc. We even sponsor other people's video contests now. So masterminds are great. Here's the problem, or the cons of a mastermind. Number one, you have to have strong filters in place, right? You have to know who else is in that group. And you, the participant, need to know that everybody is at your level. If they're a little bit above your level, that's great for you. It's probably not that great for them because there's a risk of getting bad advice. If you don't have those filters and you just assume everybody here is doing great, what can happen is that other people in your group are just guessing. They're sharing opinions. They haven't been where you want to go. They're not even where you're at yet. And so what they're doing is just saying like, well, do this. But they're not saying, I think this is a good idea. They're speaking as if they have experience when really they don't. So the better a mastermind is, the fewer of these filters you have to know. For example, I'm in a mastermind that's called Strategic Coach. It was one of the original business coaching programs. It's run by Dan Sullivan. You might have read his books like Who Not How, 10X is easier than 2X, etc. I know that in my group, everybody is earning at least $1 million a year. I'm just giving that as an example of one filter. Now, in our Tinker program at Two Brain, we know that like to get into that mastermind, because that is a mastermind, you have to be making at least $100K in net owner benefit per year from your gym. These are some of the top 10% gyms in Two Brain. They have to qualify to get into that mastermind. But once they get in there, now they've got a peer group. They've got some brainstorming. They've got varied experiences. They've got networking. At that level, nobody's an expert on everything. Up to that level of getting you to 100K and net owner benefit, making your gym really profitable, there are fewer options and fixed paths and a lot of clarity. But when you get to that level and you're thinking about buying multiple gyms, there's no one expert anymore. You really want to be in a room. But you don't want to be in a room full of beginners. You don't want to be in a room full of people who had a gym, went bankrupt, and got a job working for a software company, right? Like the stuff that you see in a Facebook group. You want that filter in your mastermind. And that's what makes a mastermind really good. We use a mastermind at our highest level program in Tinker because we know that people have gotten to that certain level and now they have freedom of time. They have freedom of finances. They can travel. They're speaking from experience. They're not guessing anymore. They have a certain level of knowledge about how accounting works and investing. They've done it before themselves. They're not just firing from the hip anymore. So that's a powerful filter, and that's what makes a mastermind really, really good. Now, most masterminds are going to be expensive. And the reason is that people who are in a mastermind, number one, can afford it. But number two, the people who are running the mastermind keep that group small on purpose. They're not playing a volume game. They're not going to get 300 people. They are going to put together a very high value group with maybe 8-9 people in it, and that means they're going to charge for that. And that's part of the filtering process too, by the way. Now let's go to the third option, which is one-to-many group coaching. So in this type of program, you're on a call, maybe it's Wednesday or Friday or Monday or whatever, and maybe the call is 60 to 90 minutes, and there's one person leading the call. And what they're going to do is bring up a topic, they're going to present that topic, and then they're going to say, okay, bring up your challenges. And in a good group coaching setting, the group coach is usually a moderator. It's not just kind of like their word over everybody. What they're doing is saying, okay, Chris has this challenge. Who else has overcome that challenge? And in great examples, they're saying, do you have experience or is this your opinion? Is this just an idea? Now, in bad group coaching programs, you don't even have that. You basically have a Zoom call with one person giving advice at the center of it. And unfortunately, this means a lot of wasted time. It means a lot of filtering, a lot of time spent asking, like, do they really know what they're doing? Do they really have experience in all of these things? You can't really take what they're saying for granted as true. You got to take everything with a grain of salt. You're basically there to get opinions. And frankly, you can get opinions for free. This is why we don't do a group coaching program at Two Brain right now. There are some pros to a group coaching program. Number one, there's a bit of community accountability. So if you're in a big group call, there's 30 people, you can stay anonymous. You don't even have to turn your camera on. Nobody's even going to notice. But if within that group, you take the initiative to make 2 or 3 friends, start a subgroup of your own, like a breakout or your own kind of mini mastermind, you can hold each other accountable. So that is possible. Next, the pro is really that it's scalable for the coach. I mean, the reason that people run these models is to create a lifestyle for themselves, not for the people who are in the program, for the coach. It's a coach-centric business. One-on-one mentorship, Two Brain is a client-centric business. We build it the way that we do it to help you best. Not because it scales faster, not because it's cheaper, not because it's the most profitable model for the coach, but because it's what's going to get the client the best results. Group coaching is a coach-centric business. It's a lifestyle business for the coach. They don't have to do a lot of work. They don't have staff to manage. Super duper profitable. but there's not a lot of accountability, right? They're probably not measuring the client results because they don't want to own the responsibility for getting the client results. There's also a lack of personalization. You can sit in a lot of group coaching calls without finding anything that's really relevant to you. And then it's up to you to figure out, like, is this what I should do or not? It's usually reactive rather than proactive. They can't go around and build an annual plan for everybody. What they can do, though, is you get on a call and you say, I've got this big problem with my coach. You might be able to find something to help you fight that fire. Okay. So, this is something that we include in our program at no extra charge, and it's called office hours. So what some people do is they charge for this. This is their whole program. They do group coaching. You get on a call. We just build it in for people that want extra support. So for example, this Wednesday on our office hours, we have a sales role play. Nick Habich, who's a mentor at Two Brain, comes on the call. He's got a topic to start people off, and then he helps people role play, get better at the thing that they're weakest at for an hour. And it's topic specific. He's not just coming on the call 1 minute beforehand, waiting for people to bring him topics, and then just shooting from the hip and trying to make guesses about what works. If you can't tell, I do have a bit of a bias against group coaching programs because I've been in 15 of them. And it's always the same thing. It's great for the coach. It's not great for the client. The client has to spend a lot of time trying to figure out like what's best for them right now. That's usually just playing defense. It might be helpful in putting out a couple of the big fires that you have right now, but the reality is it's not going to evolve into a long-term plan that's going to grow your gym. In fact, the most successful group coaching programs out there are selling to other group coaching programs. It's kind of this house of cards effect where you've got these business coaches selling business coaching to business coaches who will turn around and sell business coaching to business coaches. I don't want to call it a pyramid, but when there's one person at the top doing all the coaching, it kind of takes that shape. Now, the fourth method of mentorship or the model is roundtables. And the pros of a roundtable, you show up at an event, it's probably cheap, it might be free, and you sit down with 12 people and you're probably just sitting at a random spot. Maybe you know these people, maybe they're your friends, maybe they're not, maybe you're even placed at a table. It's an open discussion format, right? Like nobody is the expert, right? Sounds good. People are free to share. The cons are there's no filters. You have no idea what kind of context is coming from this person who's sitting beside you giving advice. Are they as successful as you? Maybe, maybe not. If you're at a CrossFit roundtable, they might say, oh, I own a 13-year affiliate. Does that mean they've been in business for 13 years or are they the third owner? Like you don't have these filters. You have to ask and most people don't. There's also a risk of misinformation or harmful advice at a roundtable. So, I'll use the example of the CrossFit discussion boards. I don't just mean to pick on CrossFit because a lot of organizations do this. But what happens is you've got 10 people at a table, right? Everybody wants to help. Everybody wants to contribute. And so they're all giving advice. But there's nobody asking, is this advice based on experience? Or is it your opinion? Or is it a random idea that you just had right now? Like, has this actually worked for you? There's also, the risk that what worked for one person won't work for anybody else because there's no way to track data. There's no centralized repository of truth. So often, you can tell me if you disagree with this, but the loudest voices in a roundtable tend to dominate even if there's no clear leader. And regardless of their expertise, they tend to be giving advice. Now, look, back to the CrossFit story. Before there were in-person roundtables, there was something that was called a CrossFit message board. And if you're an OG, you're probably chuckling listening to this. I made the mistake in 2008 when I was a brand new affiliate. I was so excited. How do I do this? Go on the CrossFit affiliate board and you ask advice. If you ask about money at all, first of all, they were like, you're in this for the wrong reasons. Get out, quit CrossFit. So now you're scared to ask about money, even if you're losing it. If you ask how many people should I have in a class? They're going to tell you something. If you say how much should I pay my coaches? They're going to tell you something. And taking the advice from the message boards, I thought was coming from successful OGs. I had no idea, right? Most people were using their real name, but I couldn't go visit their gym. They wouldn't show me their books. And if I asked them about money, they would be like, get lost, loser. You greedy bastard. So I couldn't ask them about money. I couldn't see any proof. There was no data set. There was no comparing who was actually doing well. And so I took all of the advice at face value. Well, in under a year, I had a bankrupt affiliate and I was feeding that affiliate from the revenues that I was making from my personal training studio, which kept it afloat until I figured out that the advice that I was seeing on the CrossFit message boards was A, wrong, B, harmful, and C, sometimes delivered with ill intent. So I had no filters for that, right? I was so enthusiastic about the method, CrossFit, that I believed everybody on those message boards was my hero. And while there were people out there giving real advice like Brian Strump and Josh Murphy, there were also people out there who really didn't know what they were talking about. Like, what kind of beer should you put in your fridge? That was a really common question on those boards back in those days. We weren't talking about the things that mattered. And so because you had no central figure saying this is what's more important, you still hear things like, if you just get your coaches more credentialed, you'll have a better business. Well, of course that's false, but it's what people want to talk about at a roundtable, and so it's what gets said and what gets heard. Let's talk about choosing the right model for you. Now, first, there's a few guidelines. What I would start with always is a one-on-one mentor, but who do you pick? Is it, Aunt Sally? Is it the gym down the street that appears to be doing better than me? Or is it somebody who does this all the time professionally? Well, I'll liken this to fitness. When people come to you as a fitness coach, it's because they're tired of taking advice from Aunt Sally. They're tired of asking for a program from the dude next door, and they want somebody professional who only thinks about fitness all day long, and that's all they do. And that's what we do at Two Brain. We train mentors, we certify mentors, we have continuing education requirements, we drill, we practice, we get people better outcomes because that's what we're focused on. I think everybody should start one-on-one with a mentor to solve their individual problems and then to build an individual plan for their gym. No two gyms are the same. Even if you're in a franchise, your needs, your market, your coaching, your staff, you as the CEO, you're different. You want to work one-on-one with people to start. Over time, after you've hit kind of the bare minimum goals, 100K take home, that's when you can progress to a mastermind or even group coaching, because you'll have developed those filters of what's actually working, and you'll have a sense of who should I listen to, who should I ask, who should I connect with here, and who can I kind of avoid or ignore. Okay. When you're scaling from one successful gym to many gyms, varied perspectives become really valuable, but they're only valuable because you've got the skill as the CEO to filter them, to tell who's valuable and who's not. And it really helps when you're joining a mastermind to know what the filters are to get there. So if you're not asked, how much are you making, or bring your P&L, or are you earning over this much? Can you prove it? There's a chance there's no filters and anybody's coming in. I was in one of these group coaching programs this one time, and a guy from my own town was in this program. He'd been my client when he was a kid. And, we're placed in the same round table, of course. I've got a business that is maybe 100 to 1,000 times bigger than his, and he's giving me advice. And finally, I was like, is this experience or is this ideas? And he's like, oh, well, I heard it from somebody else. He'd never done it himself, but he was willing to help. He wanted to help, but he didn't understand that maybe his advice wouldn't be the best for me or wouldn't apply in my situation. And so when you're in these roundtables or even in a mastermind, you have to burn a lot of mental calories figuring out what advice to take and what to ignore. So that's why you got to be really careful, especially with roundtables. Masterminds, a lot of that filtering is done for you, especially if there's a barrier to entry. I'm in one mastermind where I have to show a P&L every single quarter or I could get kicked out. The larger your business grows, the more important it is to have a mentor guiding you strategically and coaches who are helping you tactically. Quite often I'll use a specialist coach to help me get through one little thing in my business, but I always have a mentor who's got an eye on the long term, and quite often the mentor is the one who connects me to the coaches too. Here's the main takeaways today. Mentorship is a long-term relationship. It's strategic. It's best when it's niche specific, like you want a fitness business mentor working with your fitness business. Coaching is short-term, tactical, and knowledge specific. So for example, let's say that you want to build a nutrition program. You should be able to work with somebody for 4 or 5 weeks, get your nutrition coach set up, and then they go away, right? That's not a long-term relationship if it's part of your program. If all you're doing is nutrition, then by all means, have a nutrition mentor for the long term. The right model depends on your stage of growth and the challenges that you face. So you want somebody that's familiar with your business, who's been where you are, who's gotten to where you want to get to, and can show you the steps to get there. You should be able to ask a mentor at any point, what are the 5 biggest steps to get to where I want to go, and what's the next best step for me? And they should be able to tell you. So evaluate what you need right now. Look, people wait too long to get a mentor. They wait till they're failing. They think like, oh, part of the entrepreneurial journey is figuring this out, making guesses. That's impossible because none of us are an island. We need to learn from the mistakes of others. If you have to learn only from your own mistakes, it'll take you 5 times as long, it'll be 5 times as expensive, and most of the time you won't get there. That's why gyms go out of business. Not because the owners are not hardworking, but because the gyms don't make enough money, and it's because they don't learn from other people's mistakes. They try to do everything themselves, figure it all out from scratch, and only when they're desperate do they finally reach out their hand for help. It's not exclusive to the fitness industry, but it's really prevalent here. Two Brain, as I said, works one-on-one at first. We want to get you really quick results. We want to solve your issues, build you a specific plan. We want to hold you accountable and give you all the resources that you need without overwhelming you by talking about stuff that doesn't really matter to you right now. You'll always be available when you're ready for it or when you need it, but there's no sense dwelling on problems you've already solved or tackling challenges that you might not even be faced with, you might be able to avoid. When you buy mentorship or coaching, you're not just buying advice, you're buying speed. The right guidance can help you build the gym and the life you've always wanted faster than you thought possible and much faster than you could on your own. I'm Chris Cooper. This is Run a Profitable Gym. And if you want to chat in our free program, go to gymownersunited.com. This is a bit of a roundtable. You're going to get a lot of advice, but we've got mentors in there. I'm in there sharing articles, sharing tools that you can use to make money without any commitment at all. I hope to see you in there.